out and were able to get them to, they were going to stop it at 174 in Maine down by the feed store. And then so when we talked to them about the problems we were having in Joshua Station, they agreed to extend that line from 174 or from Main Street south to tie in to that line that the school was going to hit, which would then come in, would feed Joshua Station from the north, complete a loop around the city, and basically would solve all kinds of problems for fire flow throughout the city, but specifically in Joshua Station. So that line is underway. We used some city funds. We'll be using some type A economic development funds since it's coming through the downtown development area. Then we used some TIF infrastructure funds that were unallocated and basically not coming due. And any of that money that is not spent on that TIF has to be given back to the people that paid for it. So, well, I take it back. It goes back to the city, the county, the people participating in the TIF, which I believe the city, I don't think the school district participating. I think it's just us and the county. So we decided to do that. That line is underway. They are, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the way through. They're actually making pretty good headway. They're cleaning up their mess as they go. They put in about 100 feet at a time, clean it up, smooth it out, and just move everything down. It's about a 4-month project. So, I expect it to be towards the end of the summer when they get it finished and we see the results. But we have several developments planned in that TIF once that water hits. So it's going to be a big help. Beyond that, unless you have some questions about the businesses that are coming, and I don't know what else I can tell you about the water house. Tell us what businesses. So Whataburger is coming next to the Starbucks. They bought those 2 inner lots in between Starbucks and Panda. So they were going to build a Whataburger as an end cap, but have another retail or commercial suite beside it. They're now, I think, rethinking that. They've already done their plan. They've turned in their engineering. Everything's already been approved. All they got to do is come pull permits. But now they're talking about replatting those lots, making the footprint a little smaller, going with a smaller restaurant and a larger drive-through capability, since 90% of their business is through the drive-through. And then leave a bigger lot beside them for something else. And they're talking about several different options there, but they haven't made the decision yet. We know for sure that Whataburger's in. We just don't know when. There's also a museum that's underway that the Type A EDC board partnered with Southwest Adventist University. We bought the property between the YMCA and Brookshire's. It's about 3.5 acres, and the plan is to build a 30,000 square foot interactive dinosaur museum in partnership with Southwest Adventist University, who, unbeknownst to me, has the largest supply of dinosaur bones, I'm told, in the world.
Yes.
And collecting more every year. So their vote by their board actually supposed to be today. They had a little bit of hiccup over there, and I guess the person really I don't think he's a paleontologist. I believe he has some sort of PhDs in something else, but he's the one that's ramrodding this project. And he I don't know, I guess he and some of the other board members had some words. He's frustrated with the amount of time it's taken them to act. He's told that he has all the votes that he needs for it to be approved today. They've come to the council meeting and given us basically we're supporting it. We're planning to go forward. But the Type A EDC board has ownership of that property. So There's a timeline that if the museum has not made a certain amount of progress, then we can pull that back and it can be sold or developed. There's no specific plans for it as of yet. The other thing that's going to come in down is going to be on the far south end where Mountain Air Mobile Home Park used to be, where Plum Street was going to come across, or actually has come across and goes into beside Panda. We're going to build a container park in there. And I don't know if you've ever seen those, but it's a concept that uses the big steel containers. Some of them get stacked up. There's roof mounted seating areas, and we're going to use it for a small retail strip. It'll have a food truck component, restrooms, a playground for kids, an outdoor stage, and concert venue, and a place for the food trucks to clean and rehab and get ready for the next round. So Molly's working on that, developing that. It's in design phase right now. The designers have already been hired. In engineering is, we've got soil testing and stuff done. We're just kind of waiting on get numbers and put it out to bid for construction. And I expect that's, within the next 12 months or so, I think she'll have that worked up. Brookshire's is, of course, 90-0. That McDonald's is, I can't imagine people that eat that much, but they pay a lot, and they're paying sales tax and are doing very well. I guess a lot of people like it. And then the only other piece of property that is still owned by the developer is the piece that is right beside the McDonald's. It kind of runs parallel with the storage building that Aranakis built there. And I believe it's 4 acres, I think, is what's left. And that's all that he owns there. And I don't know, he's got that priced pretty handsomely, which has been his problem all along. I think the prices have just been, he's priced himself out of the market. I think the stuff that's moved really are the things that the city has bought and started developing, and we're hoping to get it closed out. I don't believe that there's any motivation by the council to extend the TIF. I guess that's what we'll talk about next, but those are the plans that are going on right now, and waiting on Whataburger. The next one's probably they're going to start digging. Be my guess.
Questions? Okay, item number 2, discuss and consider possible action on dissolving the tax increment readjustment zone.
So we sent all the documents we had through the city attorney's office. They reviewed everything. I wanted to make sure that there was nothing in the agreement with the developer that would prevent this board from letting the TIF expire and not extending it. There is nothing there. I think it's mostly going to be built by 2024 when it resolves anyway. The only other issue might be that one piece of property he has. He will probably come before this board at the next meeting, ask that it be extended. He's already asked that of me. I've told him that I didn't believe that there was any motivation to extend it. He's concerned that he hasn't gotten all of his money back. But again, that's because he's been so resistant to negotiate his pricing, and he's held it so high. He's just priced himself out of the market. And I think now he is regretting that decision, but that's what was made. And for years, nothing moved because we couldn't get him to budge off his price. So it's my belief that he will not. I don't think he'll be able to persuade certainly the council nor this board to do it, but there is nothing that prohibits us from letting it expire. And I guess it'll be up to this board if y'all want to pursue extending it, but I'm not aware of any motivation to do that other than by the developer.
Well, and 98% of the infrastructure is there. And the TIF, actually, the financing to the TIF is really for infrastructure.
Yeah.
Road, streets, sewer, water. And that's really, I mean.
The structure that he has for payback is based on the appraised values of the TIF. And he gets an incremental payout based on what that is. And for years, it never changed, other than if the evaluations went up and they, you know, he collected more property tax, he got that, but he didn't start getting really any. The first significant payment he got was with the apartments. Of course, that property was already bought, as was Brookshire's, and so he didn't see a whole lot there. But as these other restaurants and other places have come on, then he gets those incremental values. And I don't think that it's gone far enough now that if he does sell out the rest of it, I'm not sure he's going to recover what the initial investment was. But you know, he gets so much each year, and based on the appraised values, and he'll get another payment this year, and he'll get one in 2024. He hasn't given me a number of how much he's lost, I guess, according to him, on infrastructure cost. I haven't seen that, but again, I don't know that that's our problem to worry about. You know, the TIF originally was set to expire in 2024. He's been very slow in developing it, and I think now he does what it is. He's stuck with what he's got.
And that was a 10-year agreement.
It's a 20-year, I believe.
Questions? Thoughts? Or action we need to take this time, I guess.
No, I don't think so. I think they'll probably we're required to do one meeting a year. And I think probably I don't know that there'll be anything to come up the rest of this year. There's just not that much planned. But I think we are going to need to do one more prior to the expiration, probably to offer him the opportunity to address you guys if he chooses to. If he doesn't, then I think the only meeting item would be is just to vote to allow it to extend, or vote a request to keep it. I would say that if there's a consensus that you want to extend it, we probably will need to meet again this year to set that up, because it may take some time. I don't know how long all the paperwork, and I don't know what all needs to happen to do that. I have to research that and find exactly what the process would be. But I didn't get a sense from the last meeting that there was any interest in doing that, so I haven't pursued that. So I guess if there's any direction you want to offer about it now would be the time that I can start looking at it. But
Well, I'll just offer my thoughts again that I said earlier. You know, TIF is there, financing is made for infrastructure to gain access to these properties and have it where it can be developed. And it appears to me that certainly now with Jason bringing the water line in there, the infrastructure is complete. And I don't think the TIF's there's really nothing left to spend the TIF money on.
no, the only thing that there would be is to continue to pay his incremental payouts so that he could get fully reimbursed. But again, like I say, it was established in almost 20 years ago, and the payout was redone because they were being so slow in developing it. So they redid the development agreement with the developer, who subsequently took his life the following year, and his son and wife took it over, and I mean, really did nothing for 10 years. And you know, I'm sure he's got investors that are upset, and we've had to go around him to purchase property because he hasn't really taken any offers that we've made to the board. We finally just got in around him, bought that property up front. And then he worked with us on the museum property, but we got a little off of that. So we're in that right if we end up selling. Of course, the EDC has that. They can do what they want to with it, but I mean, you're right. The infrastructure for the most part is in place, and the funding is secured for the remainder of the water line. So, you know, we're going to be set for the rest of that property to develop. And there's not really, the TIF goes all the way down to Indian Hills or is that 905 down there? 904. It actually extends down there, so, but there's nothing happening with any of those properties. The only thing that might need to happen in the future is to increase the size of the water line going that way, but there's really nothing on the books planned down there yet, so. It's not much need to worry with it.
Any have any?
Johnson?
I agree with Commissioner.
Yes, it's pretty unanimous, just let it ride.
Well, it goes out April of 2024.
I think so. I'm not sure of the exact date. I'll find out, and then, but probably I will. I mean, I think it's probably only right to let him at least come and address the board if he chooses to do that. To see for, whatever he may persuade y'all to do something different, amend the agreement. I don't know. I guess anything would be on the table, but personally, I've been here for most of it, and I was actually on the TIF board when it started, before I came to work here for the city. So, he hasn't gotten paid back because they really haven't upheld their end of it. They've not been able to develop the property they had. So I don't see any need. The staff's recommendation would not be to extend it, but that'd be up to y'all.
If there were to be an extension, it takes both this TIF and the city council to do the extension, correct?
And the commissioner's court. Yeah, it would be if they chose to stay in it. Now, the commissioner's court could withdraw at that point too. I mean, that's their option. They could say, no, we're done. We're not going to do any more. But they would have to approve an extension as with the city council but it would start with this board.
I do agree we need to at least give him a chance to have a say before we that final decision.
Well, I'll reach out to him, and when we get farther down the line, probably, I don't know, more towards the end of the year before we get into the holidays, maybe we'll meet again and give him an opportunity to come at that point. And then depending on what y'all's direction is, that'll give everybody plenty of time to take a look at it and decide what they want to do.
Everybody good with that?
I'm good with it. I mean, personally, been on it since he started this project. He is absorbently high on his prices.
Yeah.
The infrastructure is there for businesses to continue, and he's never pursued it, even though the water line needs to be upgraded.
Well, and that,
somebody,
in his defense, I mean, it wasn't his fault that we had to bring in this water line issue. It turned out to be, I mean, that's on the school district.
Right.
They elected not to put that 8-inch line in, and that's unfortunate. We haven't been able to get them to go back and revisit that. So this just resolves it, but it also increases. It puts a big water line on that side of 174 where there's not one currently. So everybody's had to bore under the roadway if they need any amount of water. This solves that.
Okay. Any other future business requests or anything like that? Then we'll consider ourselves adjourned at 1:22. Thank you, gentlemen.